This is Rich from My Pie, and you're watching Live Freer Pie.
Cheers for any reason to whet my appetite.
You have a long history with pizza. Maybe you can start off at the beginning. How did your family first get into pizza?
Well, my dad had always been cooking when he was younger and doing pizza, and people loved it. And he was in the stock brokerage business, but his hobby was always cooking.
Okay.
And basically, he kind of backed into the business a little bit when his uncle asked him to help one of his cousins open a pizzeria. And so he came up with the recipes and the concept and the name, and helped his cousin open up the restaurant. But when they opened, literally the day they opened the restaurant, the cousin wasn't able to handle it and basically left.
On the day of the opening?
Basically. He kind of like, they had a line out the door, and he just freaked out and couldn't handle it. And so my dad ended up with the restaurant on his own, and it went from there, and it was more and more successful, and he continued to do both jobs basically for I think it was about 4 years, when it got to the point that My Pie was doing so well and expanding it that he left the brokerage business and just concentrated on My Pie as he expanded it across the country. When I was 4, I don't know, it's like in the genes, because I started baking bread when I was 4 years old, coincidentally when my dad opened My Pie. And then through the years, when I got into high school, he opened a My Pie right down the street from where we lived. And so I started working in My Pie at that point.
No kidding.
And that's where I really started. Years before, actually, what we would do for summer vacation, actually, is we were going to a different city and opening a My Pie.
Huh.
So, didn't go to camp much, mostly went, spent the summer in Long Island and in Scottsdale and Minnesota.
It was kind of like pizza camp in a way.
Exactly. So that's what I kind of did. So when my dad opened the restaurant, I started working there, and I love cooking, and just kind of like fell into it.
Sure.
When I went to college, I went and got a restaurant management degree, and realized it was really the cooking that I loved.
Yeah.
So I went on to the Culinary Institute of America and became a chef, and spent 10 years chefing it and doing fine dining, and then decided it was time to kind of like come back and start doing My Pie again.
Yeah.
Basically, my dad had gotten to the point where he had mostly retired, and he had shut down the franchise actually, and he had a few left in Chicago, and so that was a point where I was finally old enough. I opened one and started taking it over slowly, and kind of going from there.
One of the things that My Pie is known for is its family-friendly atmosphere, and how important is not only having a restaurant or a pizzeria that's family-friendly, but is a nice social place that people can come and enjoy themselves and hang out. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, pizza is something that, as a dining meal, is something that is really a lot for young families. I mean, kids love pizza. It's it's one of those staples too for little kids. And during those years, it's really hard being a parent with young kids, and you got to have a quick meal. You want it to be a healthier meal, something that isn't as processed. And pizza is just kind of perfect for that. And I'm in that stage of my life too.
Yeah.
I've got young kids and a family, and so I really do understand how you need a place to go. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to occupy the kids' time while you're waiting for your pizza. Because pizza, especially if you get a deep dish, will take a while.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I came up with two specific things in Northbrook. One was the kids make your own pizza. They make it at the table, and basically, you place your order. So while the parents' food's being made, the kids have their own little pizza at the table, and they're making the pizza, and they make a little name board to go with it. And then, we go to cook the pizza, and while the pizza's cooking, the kids can see the oven where it's being cooked, and they can see their nameplate on what we call Lair Bear's Pizza Pie Express. And that kind of occupies and fascinates little kids.
Sure.
And so it kind of keeps them a little bit under control, entertains them, makes it more enjoyable for mom and dad as they're waiting for their pizza. And then everything kind of comes out and they can kind of eat together. And then there was one other thing I did, and that was we have Lair Bear and we have Evie Bear. And those are two very large stuffed bears that are actually named after my parents.
Oh, no kidding.
It's Lair Bear is after Larry, and Evie Bear, my mom, Evie. And they can sit with the kids, So they have a little playmate, that they have fun with, they can talk to during the meal.
With My Pie's obvious history in the Chicago deep dish world, as you said, the first deep dish to go outside of the Chicago area, which is an amazing accomplishment. Where do you think My Pie sits for both then and now as a legacy in the Chicago deep dish history? Both maybe in how your pizzas taste and the desired outcome of it.
Well, it starts with the fact that My Pie was one of the first deep dish pizzas to follow Uno's. And that itself in Chicago has helped bring about like the deep dish pizza revolution in a sense that made Chicago so famous for deep dish pizzas. We took it to that next level by introducing a lot of the rest of the country to deep dish pizza for the very first time. As far as our flavors go and the actual pizza itself, one of the biggest legacies that My Pie has is the fact that we serve the exact same pizza we served in 1971. It's the same cheese made by the same dairy in Wisconsin. It's the same tomato, the same spices, the same sausage. It's the same dough. It's the same ingredients. And that in itself is an accomplishment because ingredients over the past 40 years have changed a lot. As I was mentioning before, a lot of ingredients in our food supply have been downgraded, have been processed, and our ability to maintain, in some cases, we've had to kind of seek out when maybe one supplier for some things, can't think of something off the top of my head, but they actually changed how they made it, and we had to switch to find something else that met our spec, that was our original spec. But it hasn't changed. Most things and foods in our society in the United States have changed over those 40 years. So our legacy is really maintaining the tradition of exactly what it was.
And keeping Dad proud with,
Exactly.
I enjoyed the way you made pie, Dad, but I'm going a different way entirely. He must be proud of you maintaining what you worked hard to do and the hard work that you've put in yourself.
Exactly. Because, one of the things that I bring to My Pie is our thin crust. Because I did kind of change the thin crust. We didn't start out with thin crust. We just had deep dish. And my dad had his thin crust, and I think I improved on that. When I got out of culinary school, that's the one thing that I did update from that. And since then, the thin crust has really grown too, and we won Best Thin Crust Pizza in Chicago at the only 2 Chicago Pizza Fests that were held. I don't know why we don't have more Chicago Pizza Fests.
We absolutely should.
We should. We have Rib Fest. We don't have Pizza Fest, which, if anybody's out there is listening, Chicago should have a Pizza Fest.
Yeah, this is a call to action. Chicago should have a pizza
should have a Pizza Fest. We're famous for pizza.
Right
Ribs, Memphis, Kansas City, Texas, they can have a Rib Fest. We should have a Pizza Fest. But yeah, Dad's very proud, keeping, the deep dish, everything else, I really am a traditionalist like my dad and keeping it like that too. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that we could do, and some of the things we've incorporated, like the white pizza. But our deep dish, our thin crust, we keep as a tradition and as a legacy.
Absolutely. Rich, thank you so much for taking time with Live for Your Pie, and thank you for your continued efforts in quality and keeping the pizza craft together.
You're welcome.